Welcome back to Not Safe for Brunch. This is part 2 of our G-Spot episode. So if you missed last week's, you're going to want to go back because, man, did we cover a lot. And now we're just finishing it off. We're bringing you to the climax. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Not Safe for Brunch. In this podcast, we're here to bring sex, insight, and real-world education to the table unapologetically. Think about it as having those important, unfiltered brunch conversations with your closest friends about sex, relationships, and everything in between. With over 55 years of experience combined in the intimacy industry, helping individuals and couples focus on breaking down barriers, reducing shame, and empowering people to embrace their desires and relationships with confidence. Hi, I'm Coralie. I live in the Vancouver area. I'm a married mom of 2, half empty nesting, 1 in, 1 out. And my secret power is I love a good rabbit hole. I love digging deep and finding the truth or the root cause of a situation.
And I'm Amber. I live in Ontario. I'm married. I'm a mom and a G-ma. And an unapologetic quality of mine is I weed through the fluff and I get to the point.
I love it. I am Vicky. I'm in Manitoba. I'm divorced and I'm re-entering the relationship space. I am a mom to 2 grown-ups, and my magic is making meaningful connections and relationshiping, which of course creates trust.
There are ways to kind of experiment with finding the G-spot. If you've never had a G-spot orgasm or you're just not having it consistently, you could actually use different pillows. There's different like wedge pillows that you could buy. You could use your own pillows that are at home, different tools that you could actually use that are just more common to get your positioning right to hit the G-spot. A position like doggy style also is kind of a really well-known position to help hit the G-spot a little bit easier. And starting out solo is a really good way to experiment without the pressure of a partner going, okay, did you do it? Did I do it?
Are you there yet? Are you close?
Totally. There's nothing worse than when
Good
you're,
doggy style.
you're headed in a direction and you're getting the quiz along the way. It's like, no. Yeah, no. I strongly agree with you. I think that we all need to be exploring our own bodies and figuring it out for ourselves first, because we can't share the map if we have no idea.
Yeah, so you want to like lift your butt up with the pillow. You could put your legs up on the wall, your knees up, and this is going to help lift that pelvis and get you in the right position.
And it also condenses the pelvis, which is going to kind of condense your clitoris and all that stuff to make it all more condensed.
Yeah, you're right. It just provides an opportunity for as much stimulation in that one space, right? So I love this tip. I love that the mirror can also help you become more comfortable with your body and just how you look and how you feel and how you need to manipulate and things like that, and even our own self-image, right? We all have roles when we're sitting. So we need to stop worrying about what we look like, just double down on the self-love.
Mm-hmm. And a mirror is great too to help you locate your urethral sponge, which is the tissue that's around your urethra. Some people still don't know we have 3 holes.
That is the truth.
With the mirror, you can see that tissue, and that's erectile tissue. What I think happens, I didn't read this, but this is personal info sharing and discussions with clients. But when you become more aroused and that tissue gets swollen, that urethra, that sponge area is going to become a little bit more external. So it might be easier to see, and it looks different than the other tissue that is on your vulva. It has these lines ridged across it. That's something that you can look for as well. That could also be something that maybe you only get if your pelvic floor muscles need more conditioning.
I just love the idea of encouraging people to explore their bodies. Encouraging them to use the mirror, get to know the situation, right? And that will put you in a more confident space, right?
And just a PSA, don't use your phone.
No. Go to the dollar store.
Or at least put it on airplane mode. Anything that happens to be recorded after you're done. Yeah, but no, seriously, grab a mirror. Dollar store mirror.
Yeah, and if you have bad vision, get a 20-time magnifier.
Wait a minute. Maybe that's a good idea for all of us. Hang on. All right. I'm going to the store after this. Are we almost done?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about arousal and the role that it plays. So let's say hello to the tip of the clitoris and begin to stimulate in the way that you enjoy the most. So whether it's that light touch or that heavy hand or a strong or a light vibration, maybe a pulse, you can also stimulate at the vaginal opening or vestibule as the vestibular bulbs will be right there, which is why so many women enjoy just the tip, friends, just the tip. It's applying pressure to that spot. And as you become more aroused, you begin to stimulate the area surrounding the urethra. A light rub will often do the trick. Experiment on whether you enjoy it more simultaneously. Play with the tip stimulation or the entrance stimulation. Why don't we have three arms? Like, that would just make things so much easier. So, the clitoris must be fully aroused to feel the swelling internally. You will feel that swelling if your arms, your fingers are long enough, or your partner will. So don't penetrate until you're at the point where you're absolutely begging for that internal stimulation.
Yeah, you don't want to jump off the mountain too quickly, right?
Yeah, it's over already.
Right.
So once you're at the give it to me point, begin to explore internally while keeping the stimulation going on the external areas that you're enjoying the most. So most women will prefer the tip stimulation at the same time. And they'll find it easier to learn to have these orgasms with this type of stimulation happening simultaneously.
When you train your body to have those orgasms, like you have the clitoral ones, and then you got to kind of have them simultaneously, and then it's easier to stimulate with just the inside being stimulated. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like ABC.
Yeah, it's the edging, right? And that's exactly what you're describing there
Yeah.
about non-penetrative stimulation until you're there. I used to call edging commercial sex. Lay in bed, watch TV. We don't have commercials anymore. Like, I have to go to Prime with all commercials now. So, like, because then you only touch one another when it is a commercial, and then you stop when your show comes back on and you watch it. And then the commercial comes back on and then you start touching again. That's the kind of thing that can really rev the body up without having full penetrative sex, maybe some digital stimulation, etc. That can really sort of ramp that experience up. And then by the time the show is over, you're ready to lose your mind. So I just think that that's
Yeah.
my
What a
that's
great
my
form of
interpretation
foreplay.
of edging. What?
What a great form of foreplay.
I know, right? It's like I it's a
We're all
great
going
idea.
back to commercials.
Yeah. Well, it makes
Commercial
sense
sex.
too. You're letting your body get really close, like
Mhm.
multiple times, right? Whereas I
Yes.
feel like what can happen for a lot of people is they'll, do this, they'll be playing externally and they'll be really close, then they go internally and they don't because they weren't close enough or their bodies weren't aroused enough. So I think
Yeah.
that makes sense. Try both ways. We're just giving you more.
And I was just gonna say commercial sex is something that's really easy to recreate when you're solo as well. Right? So if you're practicing with yourself to sort of figure out what your body responds to, commercial sex is great for you. So that's your tip. There you
You
go.
could use songs too. The chorus, play, stop, play, stop.
Oh.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
All right, so let's talk about internal stimulation. So, experimenting with the come hither motion on the backside of the clitoris. So, experimenting with pressure that's applied, whether it's light or it's heavy. Also, experiment with the reach of the come hither. How far do you have to go? Sometimes our partners have longer fingers than we do. So, they may be heading to a place that is unnecessary and they just need to back it up a little bit, right? Or to the right or to the left. Who knows, right?
Well, and that's where the conversation comes in, where you have, oh, no, not there. Oh, there it is. Stop there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? That's where you kind of got to be open and communicating with your partner, even in the middle of the act.
Absolutely. And that's why you need to be talking during. And also the sex decompress that I always like to talk about. Everybody needs to have that sex decompress. What worked, what didn't? How can we change it? What can we try next time? That's part of all of this being a really successful venture, right?
And if you're uncomfortable doing that at first, always think we sometimes have to tread into that slowly if we're not comfortable talking, but you could just come up with a code and then move their head like Ratatouille.
funny. Oh my gosh. So some people are going to prefer a long, true come hither motion. Some maybe short, quick come hither. Others might prefer more of a tapping. I call it the windshield wiper as well. Like, there's there's all kinds of different stimulation styles that could really be comfortable for you. And of course, toys are going to help during solo and partnered play. That's one of the purposes of why we sell toys so much, is that you can then incorporate that together, because no one's superhuman and should be expected to be able to do all the things without an assist. So toys and other types of stimulation tools, they can just make things a little more comfortable. When you're solo, you may feel like you need to be a yogi to reach some of the areas and do all of the things. With partner play, you might start to cramp up and you just, we need some time. So
Carpal tunnel.
carpal tunnel, that's right. So toys can help to provide some endurance for you to help reach the end, but toys don't get cramps when you're determining the type of pressure and rhythm that you enjoy the most.
As you become more aroused in this area, you may get a familiar feeling, the feeling of having to go pee. Do not panic. We're going to get back to the science of that in a hot second, all right? Because this area is so connected to the urethra, and the tissue around the urethra is erectile. This is a common sensation, and it can freak out someone who doesn't know that this is perfectly normal or even expected. So when you finally have your G-spot orgasm, you may have some fluid release. Again, totally normal. This is known as a female ejaculation or squirting. Some women say they have a gush. So get a sheet, or listen, I brought my waterproof blanket today.
Oh, perfect.
This will save all your sheets. No one's sleeping in the wet spot. All right.
Absolutely.
You
Yep.
need something, shower curtain, whatever. It doesn't matter. Grab something.
Also great for picnics, just saying.
If it concerns you though, like put something down if you need to. So what is the fluid that's coming out? There's actually two answers. So surrounding the urethra are your Skene's glands, which can have a small amount of white, milky fluid released from them. Now, science says that this is PSA, prostate specific antigen. All right. And then science has also studied that this gush fluid that you find sometimes happens is also mixed with PSA and urine. How does that make you guys feel before we move on? Because I think so many of us have been told it's not pee, just go for it, right?
Yeah.
I think that, that there's going to be trace amounts of urine, of course. And is a trace amount of urine really going to be the biggest thing that we're worried about when we're already in all the business?
Right. And also, too, from what I read in the Vagina Bible, is that a lot of people will go and completely empty their bladder before they start, right? And so then if you have all that stimulation, it's going to fill up really fast. And if you have that gush, it's very watered down, right? So that's why it's like that trace amount, because it's watered down. And I think one thing you can judge it on is if you did have the gush and it was on your sheets, did it leave that mark around it, like how when your kid pees the bed, if you have kids, or you're babysitting and that kid peed the bed? Most of the time it doesn't. And I think that's how you can get a good indicator. I know it's controversial, but I think it's just information that everyone should have so that they can make their own decision. And yeah, like if a man made that happen for you, he's going to be like the guy in Castaway. I made fire.
I made fire. Oh my gosh. And you know what? And again, I think it's also the story that we sort of ride inside our head all the time, which is that we're worried about what the other person in the scenario is going to think, right? And we have to just let go of that. And of course, when you get into your 40s and your 50s, you really do kind of not care. If someone's going to leave my bedroom because there was a trace amount of urine in my G-spot orgasm, peace out, friend. Like,
Totally.
I can't help you.
Well, and I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you're stopping yourself at that point when you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to pee. That's the point. Don't
Right.
stop. Keep going.
Yeah. And I think that's another reason why solo play can be so important, so that you can understand it, see what happens, and get comfortable with it if it's a concern for you.
So back to business, all right? We've had some fun talking about this. But as you feel your orgasm brewing, you'll feel a little warmth, some fullness, or a pleasurable pressure, or maybe you'll feel all three of those things. For many women beginning their Olympic training, this will lead to a standard external clitoral orgasm, likely a lot more intense of a standard one due to the extra stimulation. And that's okay. You're waking up that zone, and it could take many times, many weeks, many months, or even years. I'm so sorry of just working on it. And it's a work in progress, but it will be worth doing when you get to that gold medal finish.
Get on the podium.
Yeah.
We won't be there, but we will be metaphorically putting the medal around your neck.
Right. On my medal. Okay. Now, if you feel your orgasm coming, but your body seems to be holding back, or you feel it will be more of an external orgasm and you have some endurance in you, slow down. Go back to the teasing, build it up again, just like we talked about edging. If you don't have endurance or your body is just reacting on reflex, orgasms are reflexes, you might begin having blended orgasms where it's external and it's internal simultaneously. And this is a fabulous mile marker for someone whose body and brain seems to be playing the long game. The stimulation is training your body eventually. You may not need that external stimulation anymore, and you'll be able to climax easily with only the internal stimulation. So that's double gold. I want 2 medals for that. When you're ready to orgasm and you feel it building, just relax into that orgasm as it approaches mentally, physically. Just get out of your brain and relax your hips and your pelvis. If your knees are bent, let them fall apart to wherever they naturally want to go. Relax your urethra and the vaginal area, similar to if you've been holding in some urine. And finally, ready to just let it go. And for some, the relaxing is incredibly hard. But it is imperative to this kind of orgasm. You have to relax to release. As the orgasm gets closer and is about to hit, continue staying relaxed and just let it go.
So when you can truly let it go and let it happen, those reflexes will kick in and you are going to have the most incredible mind-blowing orgasm that you'll feel spread all over your entire pelvic area and even further. Some women have said that they feel it extend to the top of their head and the tip of their toes. And
Ooh.
how do you know that it was an internal orgasm? Think of it as a high frequency versus a deep frequency, right? An external orgasm is sort of like more high frequency. It's surface level, it's centralized, it's more like a buzz as the nerve endings are stimulated or much closer to the skin. Whereas an internal orgasm is a deep frequency, it comes on slower, it lasts longer, it feels more like a rumble and a throb, and it's more spread out and more full feeling. So it's one of those things like before you ever had your orgasm, you're like, I think I've had an orgasm. And people who've had them have like, you'll know. It's kind of the same thing. You'll know. It's going to feel so different. And you can still have that orgasm with the internal and external stimulation. So it doesn't mean it's only internal, right? Like you can have both going on at the same time and have that more full feeling throb instead of the zing. But you're going to know it will be different. It'll be more intense. And you just got your gold medal. Get on that podium. Get on it. Incredible, 10 out of 10, 5 stars. We are in the crowd giving you a standing ovation, metaphorically, because that would be weird. But your hard work all paid off. Go pee, drink some water, and enjoy the glow for the rest of the day or the fabulous sleep that you'll fall into if it's nighttime.
The most important thing is to listen to your body and explore what feels good to you. Don't be afraid to experiment with different techniques, toys, and frequencies until you find your personal recipe for G spot bliss. And remember, if you're partnered, communication is key. Talk about what you like, what you don't like, and what you'd like to try. The journey to pleasure is a collaborative one, so enjoy the ride together. Now, who's ready for a practical demonstration? No, just kidding.
But seriously, go forth and explore. Your G spot and your partner, if you have one, will thank you.
Okay, now that you're armed with all of this G spot knowledge, it's time to put it to the test. This week, we have some homework for you. Homework that you're going to want to do. Explore your body. try some of the new techniques that we've discussed. Let us know how it goes. We want to hear from you.
There you have it. The G spot. It's real. It's pleasurable and it's waiting to be discovered or rediscovered.
Remember, pleasure is a journey, not a destination. So be patient and don't be afraid to communicate with your partner or partners if you've got them.
Thanks for pulling up a chair at our unapologetic brunch table today. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. It's like tipping your server, but for podcasts. And hey, sign up for our weekly newsletter using the link in the show notes so you never miss the juiciest, most unfiltered chats we're serving up. Remember, brunch isn't just about the mimosas, it's about the authentic connection and keeping it unapologetically real. Until next time, let's keep the brunch vibes alive and the conversation flowing.